Hello you lovely lot, my name is Max, welcome back to my YouTube channel and yet another Nottingham Forest match preview where today we're going to be taking a look at our FA Cup quarterfinals against Liverpool. Yesterday we are taking a look at the first meeting between these sides since the year 1999 and our opportunity to get into the first semi-final we have reached since 1996. I wasn't even born when that last happened, which is absolutely mental, and it is a huge opportunity, particularly for some of the younger Forest fans, to really make a statement during this season and what has been an amazing campaign so far under Steve Cooper. As we usually do in these videos, we're going to be taking a look at the ups and the downs for Forest and Liverpool this season, discussing their merits and how they'll go against each other. And I'll finally be giving you my score predictions at the end of this one. As always, don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. This is something pretty normal. We usually get up to a couple of times a week doing some match previews for Nottingham Forest and sometimes for some other games. I also have a couple of tier lists going out here and there. So like I say, if you're new here, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into the match preview for Forest versus Liverpool. This is without a doubt going to be our toughest game of the season so far, and with three first team defenders missing from the squad and heading into our last few championship fixtures, this game for Nottingham Forest is so crucial in the context of our season. Hopefully the international break that is upcoming will allow these players to get back ready for first team football sooner rather than later, and to be fair, Liverpool themselves are dealing with a few injury problems of their own, but we will touch on those a little bit later on. As is customary in these videos, we usually talk about our opposition on the day a little bit first, and that will be no different today, as we will be taking a look at how Liverpool's season is going up to date and how they're comparing in the Premier League this season. Well, as we probably all know, Liverpool occupy second place in the Premier League at the time of recording, just a singular point behind current champions and leaders Manchester City, and are still on track to achieve a quadruple, having wrapped up the Carabao Cup a couple of weeks ago, I think it was last month, and still in the Champions League, heading into a quarter-final tie against Portuguese side Benfica. And they also come into this game in incredible form in the league, having won their last 5 games in all competitions, I believe, and having also remained unbeaten since December when they lost to Leicester in the league. An outstanding run of fixtures that's really seen them mount a title challenge and potentially look as favourites for the Champions League. So as part of this, let's take a look at how Liverpool actually made it to the quarterfinals of this year's competition, their route from round 3 to their match against Forest at the City ground. In round 3, they pretty easily made their way past Shrewsbury Town and then dispatched of Championship strugglers Cardiff in the 4th round, setting up a 5th round tie against Premier League bottom place team Norwich City, prevailing 2-1 on the day thanks to 2 goals from Takumi Minamino. And on the day, they were very much comfortably the better side against Norwich, seeing around 2/3 of the possession, around 66% on the day, and also took 17 shots compared to 7 from their opponents, despite the fact they had a second string team out in pretty much every position across the pitch. They were by far and away the better side on the day. And Takumi Minamino was definitely at the centre of that, a player who's found Premier League minutes very hard to come by this season, so has definitely made the most of the opportunities afforded to him in the Champions League and the domestic cup competitions, and like I say, definitely the man of the match on the day against Norwich. The Japanese international scored 2 goals from the 3 shots that he took and created a chance for his teammates. He even completed a couple of dribbles on the side and completed a couple of defensive actions just to boot in with a very solid performance for Liverpool. With that in mind, Liverpool are definitely going to have to rotate their squad for this game, still competing on 3 fronts, having wrapped up the Carabao Cup and seeing some injuries to some of their sporadic and outside the circle team members. This includes Kostas Tsimikas and James Milner, who've been playing at fullbacks, particularly in the cup competitions this season for Liverpool. They're currently doubts with illness and also a long-term injury to Trent Alexander-Arnold, who will not just miss this game against Forest in the FA Cup, but also the upcoming international break for the England national team. All things considered though, Liverpool have a very strong team at their disposal, are at probably the peak of their powers, and are in imperious form both in the league and in domestic cup competitions. And Forest are going to be in for some game. Before we talk about the game itself, let's just touch a little bit on Forest's route towards the quarterfinals of this year's FA Cup, because it is some story for the Championship side. Obviously, on our route to the quarterfinals, we have beat Premier League opposition in Arsenal and Leicester City, and Championship high-flying side Huddersfield Town, a win that's actually sparked a little bit of a downfall in their promotion hopes, a little bit of a catalyst for change at the Terriers this season. And let's touch a little bit about that Huddersfield game, because it gives us some really good insight into the type type of team this Nottingham Forest side are under Steve Cooper and how good we've been in almost all our games under the Welshman. It was a very solid performance on the day from the Reds, where we never really looked out of control or like the game was going to get beyond us, and we should have really gone 1-0 up early despite the fact a Sam Surridge goal was denied for offside. It was very clearly not offside, but I discussed that in a little bit more depth in the match preview beforehand. We dominated possession with around 55% of the ball. Despite this, we didn't create a huge amount of opportunities, only around 7 compared to the 11 generated by the Terriers, although about half of their opportunities did come from outside the box, really highlighting particularly well how good we are at defending in deep situations, which we had to do on several occasions. On the day, Ryan Yates was probably the man of the match, and in recent games has probably been the best player in the squad, certainly over the last month, really sort of kicking off from this Huddersfield Town game. He took one shot, which obviously he converted, getting his goal, completed 2 dribbles and a monstrous 7 tackles, leading the team for both of those metrics. He was all over the pitch for the team, and in possession is absolutely essential for us because he just holds everything together, and when we do lose possession, he's there straight away to mop things up alongside James Garner. So to summarise, Forest's route to the FA Cup quarterfinals has not been easy, and it's not been an easy season for us, having started off so poorly under former manager Chris Hughton. So if Liverpool fans think by any stretch that we're going to be taking this match for granted, we absolutely will not. We will be living up every opportunity we get during this match. So with that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about how Liverpool are playing this season. A pretty obvious statement, as we all know, very well documented how good this Liverpool side is, but it's definitely worth noting some of the strengths in their game and how Forest can counteract them. Of course, it's no real secret that Liverpool prefer to play a 4-3-3 shape in their games, a very fluid formation that allows for interchanges, particularly in the half space and in the wide areas, particularly as well in games where they're going to see a lot of possession of the ball like they are against Forest. The defensive midfielder, who is usually Fabinho, although it could not be in this Forest game, drops between the centre-backs, allowing them to split wide and push up in possession, playing the ball into the opposition's half. And in particular, Virgil van Dijk and Neil Matip, who are the 2 starting centre-backs for Liverpool usually, are very good at doing this. The coverage this gives enables the fullbacks to push nice and high and wide to create opportunities as ostensibly the main creative threat in that team, creating chances for their opposite side winger from crossing opportunities. And of course, it's very well documented the quality in that Liverpool front three. No matter who they're playing, they seem to have done a really good job in building a front three for the future, with Diogo Jota and Luis Diaz probably going to be playing a big part in this game against the Reds. Obviously, their pressing is also something that's been very well documented, their gegenpressing system that Jurgen Klopp has instilled into this Liverpool team, and they're still maintaining that despite the fact they are easily one of the most dominant teams in Europe at the moment. In the Premier League, they currently sit second in the table for passes allowed per defensive action, a metric that allows us to gauge how intense an opposition's press is, allowing around 8 passes per defensive action operated, which is usually a tackle, interception, block, that kind of thing, with only Leeds, who obviously are very renowned for doing this, being ahead of them in that table. These factors have all combined really well to turn Liverpool into one of the most dominant teams in the Premier League, completely shutting out at the back and stifling defences with the amount of pressure putting on them, with the amount of attacks that they're creating, as they generate around 19 shots per match and concede only around 9, with a +10 about shot differential, where they only trail at Manchester City in the league for this. They are extremely dominant and clinical in their games. In fact, they take the most shots in the Premier League per match, and this has led to them becoming the highest scorers in the Premier League over the course of this season, and registering and generating the highest expected goals over the course of this season, with 75 and 72 respectively in these 2 metrics. And a big part of this has obviously been Mohamed Salah, who has scored 20 goals in the Premier League despite missing a month for the Africa Cup of Nations. The man is an absolute legend. He's such a good player, and if he has any chance of starting against Forest, it could be game over before it even begins. So to summarise, obviously Liverpool are probably one of the best teams in the Premier League, although I do think Manchester City are marginally better than them and are easily in the top 3 teams in the entire world right now. And I would argue there are very few teams as finely balanced and well tuned as this Liverpool team at the moment. Although to say that Liverpool are going to walk this game and have an easy day at the office is definitely doing a massive disservice to this Nottingham Forest team. We have been incredible this season and will definitely cause them a few problems, particularly down that right-hand side. En route to this FA Cup quarter-final, we did knock out 2 Premier League opposition, including Arsenal, who during the week gave Liverpool a pretty decent game at the Emirates. And Liverpool's team is already stretched very thin. If you also include some of the injuries they've sustained, Mohamed Salah's a doubt, Milner's a doubt, Tsimikas is a doubt, Alexander-Arnold's out for the next month at least, and they're still competing on 3 fronts. They could put out some youth academy players in this game, which is a great opportunity for Forest to attack them. And despite the fact we're going to be under a lot of pressure during this game, this is where Forest are probably at their best, bursting out on the counter-attack, particularly down that right-hand side where the form of Johnson and Jed Spence in pretty much the last few weeks especially has been imperious, as they've looked the most deadly combination on that right-hand side in the entire championship. And with Liverpool's injuries, they could be a bit stretched down that left-hand side, and I can see it's causing a few issues for them. Overall, I'm going to predict that Liverpool are probably going to advance through to the semi-finals of the FA Cup. As painful as it is for me to say, I've got to say that, a caveat, it is very painful for me to say that. Forest have had an incredible season so far. I just think our priority should be getting that playoff space, if not an automatic promotion place come the end of the season. And with Liverpool still sort of looking to compete on all fronts and wipe up as many trophies as possible, I can see them playing a few of their first team options in this game, despite the fact it's obviously only in the FA Cup. I'm going to suggest probably a 2-1 win for Liverpool on the day. I would be happy to see us get a goal, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if we took this game into extra time, as is the dogged and resilient nature of Steve Cooper's Nottingham Forest side. With that being said though, please let me know what you think the scoreline is going to be for this game in the comments section down below, and I'll try to respond to as many of them as possible. It's going to be a very tough game for the Reds, and I'm very much looking forward to see what Steve Cooper does with his side, but I do think the priority should be on getting a Premier League place next season, and potentially having 2 games home and away against Liverpool next season in the Premier League. Wouldn't that be something else? And also, whilst you're down there, don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe down below if you have enjoyed this video, and if you are new around here, of course. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the game, Reds. I will catch you later.